All right. And our final speaker for the evening is joining us online. Dr. Elaina Hyde will be talking about applying for telescope time on the Alan I Carswell Observatory's 1 meter telescope for amateurs and researchers alike. Elaina.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me remotely, and a huge thanks to everyone at RASC who was on the tour tonight. It was great to have some RASC members up in the telescope. And interestingly, relevant to our last talk, exoplanets are some of our favorite targets. So this talk is meant to kind of supplement the observatory information that you may have already learned on your tour if you were on one. And also a special thanks to the RASC members who did get something from the observatory store. It is much appreciated. All the proceeds do actually support the observatory directly, especially in our current mode. So I'm going to start off just by giving a little bit of extra information about the observatory, just in case there are some folks who maybe didn't catch the tour before ran tonight over at York University. So, just in case you didn't know, the Alan I Carswell Observatory has quite a few. Whoops, there we go. Quite a few interesting features. So we have the 1 meter telescope, which it used to really actually move that fast until I adjusted its timing. It is very, very new, very, very fast, and very, very accurate. It's gone down to 20-second magnitude without too much of an issue, as long as the football stadium lights are off. And of course, it is highly capable of research and tracking all kinds of interesting things. But that's not necessarily the only thing we do. So the observatory, which is just a few doors down from Rand tonight, and has just finished, I heard from the crew, just finished packing up for the evening. We do tours every Wednesday after sunset. So at this time of year, the tours tend to start around 5:30 and end at just before 7:30, so that everyone has time to go to Rand. And of course, in the summer, we'll start later because sunset won't be until 8 or 9. And Monday nights, we do our online public viewing, which is on YouTube, and in conjunction with the York Universe radio podcast. So there are online outreach, in person outreach, and educational events, as with our final Friday teletubes. And of course, we're on social media, much like Rask Toronto Center is. The research end of it is including York University undergraduate students, as well as researchers from around Ontario, around Canada, and around the world. Our regular sort of undergraduate classwork includes things like solar observing, galaxy characteristics, exoplanet transit observing, and color magnitude diagrams, which are basically fun objects in astronomy. So those are primarily done with the 1 meter telescope now, although the 60 centimeter used to be the workhorse for those. So we have public outreach, we have tours, we have external demonstrations, and actually Sunday, I should say, this Sunday, we have community event with Downsview Park. So we are running community event. Astronomy's out at Downsview Park is one subway stop down from York on the February 9th and March 9th. And we do events solar observing with them during the summer as well. But all of this is only possible because of the vast changes that have happened in the observatory over the last few years. So pre 2019, which is not that long ago, so 5 or 6 years ago, depending on where exactly you start counting in time and space, we had the 60 centimeter telescope and the 40 centimeter telescope in our two old original domes from the 1950s. However, in 2017, we were approved for a donation from Professor Emeritus Alan I Carswell, who donated $500,000, which was matched by York, to bring in the new 1 meter that we now have, and that's why we're called the Alan I Carswell Observatory. So this means we have upgraded our research, we have upgraded our outreach, and we have robotic capabilities that we've never had before. Our ongoing research project, and this is run on the 60 centimeter and the 1 meter, is SX Phoenicius variable stars. This actually has been running since 1995. We have been monitoring light curves from variable stars over extremely long time bases. And with the 60 centimeter telescope, we don't need incredibly high accuracy because the periods are all well within the realm of our telescope to capture. It's a very easy job for the 1 meter and a slightly challenging job on the 60 centimeter. Usually, this runs with undergraduate students at York, but everyone is invited to participate. We have, I believe, one or two graduate students who are sort of poking around at the moment. So that's one of our longest going research projects. And of course, having our new Alan I Carswell Observatory, we're not just looking at potentially a new telescope. We have new capabilities for astrophotography, asteroid tracking, cometary tracking, trans-Neptunian objects, and distant faint objects like quasars, um, and faint galaxy imaging, all that kind of stuff. So this is the telescope that most of you would have seen on the tour tonight, and if you missed it, definitely check it out. Maybe sometime when it's a little bit clearer and it's safe to open up the domes, because then we can put in live imaging straight from the telescope onto the projector. We have with this telescope not only dual Nasmyth ports for multiple capabilities, eyepiece, and of course, 4 different instrument areas, but we have robotic capabilities. So we can pipe imaging directly to the screens all over Petrie and, in fact, all over the world. So we can actually pull some in tonight if we hadn't closed the telescope after the tour. You do have to let the students go home at some point. So if we want to run the telescope now, we have robotic and in-person modes. And this 1 meter telescope is now the largest telescope on any Canadian university campus. And it does an amazing job despite the high light pollution conditions. And I will say, with the new spectrograph attachment, we're now able to do, of course, spectrographic imaging, spectrographic binaries, and element analysis for all kinds of different interesting phenomena. So we have a lot of benefits from this telescope, most of which include that it is now extremely easy to do Malan-Cam and astrophotography imaging. So here's a little bit of a, I suppose, smorgasbord, little sample board of a few of our earliest astrophotography images that came in, and a little close-up of Stefan's quintet, because that's one of my favorites. The Wild Duck Cluster, the furthest nebula that can be seen by the naked eye. This was also captured early on in 2019 as one of our first light adjacent images. If you want to have a really fun time, we do also have a Xbox controller that you can hold in your hands and drive around the telescope with. This is how we usually do our moon observing, and it's very fun to see how many different sites on the moon you could actually find, drive around the Apollo landing site, make vroom vroom sounds. It's really fun, but also gives you a wonderful chance to explore lunar features that you probably wouldn't have a chance to do with most other telescopes. Very, very high resolution. And we do have neutral density filters to make this safe to view, because with the 1 meter telescope, it would actually blast out the CCD if you tried this without a neutral density feature. So Messier marathons have been a very, very big fun festival for the observatory here as well. We try to follow along with the RASC marathons whenever we can, but we often try to see how many we can get. And actually, we had, I believe, almost the full set image last year, and this is from even a previous one. So very, very good galaxy imaging on single frames or even just single filter exposures. And we do have Johnson Cousin filters for those people who are interested in actual science types images. So here's just a little bit of extra set. Now, if you're paying attention, you would have realized that there was a telescope that would have gone missing. The 40 centimeter. It's not been completely mothballed. We did save it when the 1 meter came in 2019, but it has been relegated out to the Arboretum parking garage, which is where we have our small telescopes and where we do a lot of our open air viewing. For any of the RASC members or anyone else who's interested in perhaps the open air astro fair that is coming to the Alan I Carswell Observatory this June and July of 2025, that's where we're going to have most of the people because this has got the biggest amount of space attached. The 40 centimeter is now out there, all in its lonesome on a pier, covered by a tarp. It has suffered a little bit in its electronics, but it's still excellent for viewing bright objects like the planets and bright stars and the moon and bright clusters. So it is still a very very fun telescope to use, and we didn't get rid of it. So if you're curious to find the 40, that's where it is. Great for star parties. It's a Meade LX200 EMC Schmidt Cassegrain telescope, and the computerized alt azimuth mount doesn't exactly work at the moment, but it's still today, even in 2025, our main telescope for public viewing and astrophotography, although it's more public viewing, and a lot of the astrophotography has now been separated off to the 1 meter. Now, fun new things that have happened since 2019. We didn't just replace the telescope, we also replaced, for the first time ever since 1958, the domes. The domes were original to the observatory and had never been replaced, which meant, of course, that they were leaking and snow was falling where snow should not fall. So we got new domes in 2022, and we actually were able to get some very good videos of the domes, 22-meter diameter sort of domes flying through the air like some kind of great, UFO show. The original domes were mostly not usable anymore because of all the damage and rusts and holes. Um, but we did manage to save a few pieces, which are now mounted to the wall of the 1 meter in the museum area. So if you want to see those, you'll have to catch one of those tours. So here's some fun construction pictures because everyone loves to see a robotic dome in action. And this is one of the domes coming across to land on or around, I should say, the 1 meter in 2022. And this is a little brag. If you do happen to have one of the last editions of Sky News that was printed, we did actually get the picture of the domes in there. So, some fun facts about our new robotic domes that will follow the telescope and let you do robotic viewing. They are in aperture widths of 1.8 meters. The dome diameter itself is about 20 feet 6 inches, so 22 is a bit of a roundup. It's programmable, and multiple targets can be imaged. It can follow the telescope. It can follow the telescope at an angle. And it has a very interesting feature where its bottom door does not pull up like previous designs. It actually drops down with hydraulics, which means you can image low targets and you don't need reconfiguration of the dome if you're viewing something high or low, which is how it used to be. And our weather station now has some safety features that will hopefully stop any more water from getting through. So this is a little picture of me taking apart the old domes because they let me have a drill at some point, and we did save a few pieces off of this one. Now, in addition to replacing the domes and of course the telescope, we also were not just satisfied with that. The 60 centimeter was, as I say, original to 1960s, put up in 1958. It was actually installed before the Petrie building that 317 is in was finished being built, and its encoders were in very bad shape. The encoders are what control right ascension and declination. The whole electrical system had to be redone, and it has been. So we now have new encoders, new gearing controls, new motors, the same exact gears as have always been there this entire time. But the control system has been upgraded. So we now can monitor the weather, control the computer. We have um, we have, of course, power distribution units or PDUs to control each aspect of the various configurations. And we have UPSs not only on the telescope controls and the computer configurations, but the domes themselves. So if and when the Petrie building loses power, which just watch out, it does this about once a month, you don't actually lose power to the domes. So you can have one last close. And this was a lot of electronics, a lot of mechanics, and a lot of crawling around with oscilloscopes and things. Very, very fun. So most recently in 2023, I suppose we won't get to 2024, but in 2023, we finally got permission to replace one of the other original aspects to the 1960s telescope, which were the asbestos flooring. So you will all be pleased to know that you did not just walk on cracked asbestos flooring. It's actually been replaced, and the flooring was completely redone with painting the telescope, painting the walls, pulling out the asbestos, putting down replacement flooring. And finally, the 60 centimeter telescope got an extra coat of paint. So you guys saw it as it hasn't been seen since maybe 1960, clean, polished, painted, and walkable. So we finally have our next to last newest item that you would have seen near the observatory store, our lounge area and our observatory carnival cutout that you could all take pictures with. These have all been made with donated items and actually with constructed from components that were left over from the earlier construction. So this is a very, very nice new area that you can actually show live images from a telescope, relax and chill out. And it's got a lot of our observatory store and some of our historical items as well. So this is then and now. We have now our 1 meter, we have our 60, we have our 40 out of the atrium, and we have a flock of smaller telescopes. So in addition to having our grand reopening in 2023 and getting started again, we have the ability to get started with observing and to really have modern modes of not just research observing, but also astrophotography and all kinds of other fun stuff. So we have a lot of fun at the observatory, and I want to show you guys how you can apply for time if you're interested. So this is the apply for time area of the Alan I Carswell website. So if you're interested in following along, I believe I have about 6 more minutes to show you how to do it. So just as a little shout out, if you go to the observatory website, you can start at Alan I Carswell Observatory website. So if you search for the observatory on your favorite search engine, we should show up somewhere, unless AI has overwritten us. But if you land on the landing page, of course, you can watch the IWST movie. You can find tickets to any of the free tours, or you can hop over to observers and say, I would like to go and observe an exoplanet next week, or a galaxy, or a quasar, or do some imaging in RGB. And how are you going to get there? So you go to scheduling, apply for time. And this is the basic information. So there's context, there's a schedule, there's apply for time proposal, and a form that you can fill out. And RASC members should note that I have actually made a reservation for the last final Friday having variable star preference in memoriam for Blake and Carroll. He was our first astronomer in residence and a variable star fan. So you can view the schedule just by scrolling down. It shows you the next couple months as long as we remember to update it. And you can see if there are observers assigned, it appears green. If there's other things happening like classes and tours, there tend to be in here most of the time. We try to put as many in as we can. So you can see right now, this is February. So we're in February and it's February 5th. Okay, there's an observatory RAN tour, so we won't be able to actually observe that night. So if you wanted to observe from 6 to 9, you couldn't because there's a RAN tour. Well, there's 2 observers actually scheduled, so maybe you could observe from 8 to 10 or 8 to midnight if those observers agreed to stay. So you could maybe put in a proposal if it was 2 weeks ago. Now, if we scroll down, you can see that there's a bunch of nights that don't yet have observers assigned. You could try to apply for one of those, but if there's no observer assigned, you're taking your chances. So say you pick a night. Okay, I pick a night, I pick an object. We have something we want. So we're going to have to get the instructions. And if you click on link to instructions, it will take you here. So this gives you the instructions on how to actually fill out the proposal for applying for time at the observatory. So, assuming you've picked a target, and if you can't pick a target, consider using one of ours. So, if I go back to the observers page, which is the main Lansing site and has all the telescope information, I'll find here the telescope field of views, helpful links about observing planning, and we also have some 60 targets. So the 60 targets are our long-term variable stars. And let's pick one of these. So we'll go ahead and observe BL Cam tonight. I have the BL Cam right ascension and declination, its coordinates in the sky. It should be visible-ish. I have its V magnitude. It's an oscillating star, so I've got its period. And I know what filter I want to use in the Johnson-Cousins filter system. So how are you guys going to actually do this? You're going to download AICO underscore observing prop.zip, and you actually have to fill it out. So this is the little tiny side note where I'm just going to make a note that this is in the language LaTeX because this is how most professional observatories will ask you to fill out time proposals. And it's meant to get you used to the system so that if you should so choose to apply to other telescopes in the future, it will then be useful. LaTeX is a typesetting language that allows you to compile beautiful PDFs and include equations. And you can either put it on your local machine, or your Linux, or your Ubuntu, or your Mac, or even Windows, if you must. Um, or you can avoid all your installation problems and just get a free Overleaf account. Now, Overleaf will do it all for you. So I'm going to assume you all want the easy way, and we're going to do Overleaf and we're going to look at the files. So once you have your LaTeX files, you're going to go and say that you've gone to scheduling, you've clicked on the zip file, you've downloaded it somewhere on your computer, and then you go to Overleaf, and this is my own account. And we'll go back to the menu so you can see it. I make a project, and inside my project, I copy all the files in that zip and I upload them here with this little upload button. So I drag all the files into here, and what appears is main.txt, my LaTeX file, a sample graphic, EPS, and two files, CLS, aux, and optionally I could include a bib file. So if I'm going to run this file, what you see is that it looks like it's code, and it is. It's a typesetting language. So you have a series of declarations, and you begin your document, and then you can write a bunch of things. So all the light colored green text is comments, things that were written in the document for you to read if you so choose. If you want to know what it actually looks like, you just hit recompile, and this is the PDF on the right here. So this is the actual PDF file that's generated, and this is what you'd actually be turning in. So in order to apply for time, you would need to fill out this form. So you would need to have your PI, principal investigator, which would be your name. And if you're a RASC member, you would say RASC member instead of York University, and a contact email. Who's with you on this observing run? So who's helping you? Are you doing it by yourself? Are you applying with other people? Include them all here. What observing runs do you want for your project? Do you want to observe in Johnson-Cousins, RBV? Do you want to get full RBVI? Do you want neutral density filters? Which filters do you want with which telescope? The 60 or the 1 meter? What field of view do you need? And so you'd fill out these fields by going in and researching your target. So just as a little a heads up, if you were to pick, for example, BL Cam, one thing you can do is use the Simbad tool to pick out more information about BL Cam and retrieve your finder chart. The rest of the tools you'll need are all going to be based off of this observer's page. One of the biggest ones you'll need for your observing planning is this star alt. And to run this, you need to put in the observatory parameters from the web page. So we just go back and say, okay, here's my observatory coordinates, my longitude and latitude. I'm doing a copy, and then we paste that into star alt. Now, if I want to get my object, I need to give it a name, and then I need to put it into this exact format here. So I'm going to use my 60 target, which is right here, BLCAM, and here's my J2000, because it is expecting your J2000 coordinates. So we go RA and get the right number of spaces in there. And we'll make it the right format so that it matches 034720 and declination. You can copy from the other column and you just paste it in and then make sure it matches reasonably with what they have there. Okay, that looks the same to me. I've given it a name, I've given it some fields, and then I'm going to click retrieve. And it's printed me this lovely sheet which shows the moon position and my object's position over the course of the night to night in UT time, because that's the astronomical standard. So, of course, on your observer's page, you will find the UT time because you will need that with your object every night. So, if it was tonight, you would need to make sure that you set the date for tonight. This is for 6 February 2025. And this is my star alt. So I see my altitude of the star over the course of the night, and my name is here. One is BL Cam, and the moon is the dashed line. So the moon is incredibly close to my object. That is not good. This is a terrible observation. Oh boy. I would not approve this if somebody sent me an object this close to the moon. All right, so let's see what some of the other ones are. And these are all things that you'd want to be able to retrieve for your report. So I'm going to go with the star track. And this shows you the same idea, but now you've got the all sky view and you can see exactly how close your object is to the moon. And your other options are star obs and star molt. So here's your star obs showing your observing time at the coordinates with your elevations. And finally, the least used of all of the tools on here, just your printout for your object. Now, if you have retrieved all of these for your object and you have checked it in things like Simbad, and it looks like a feasible object to observe with your magnitude. So here are some fluxes in B, R, and G, J, H, and K, which are Josephson cousins, filters, or adjacent. So if I know my object's magnitude, which in this case I do because I've used one of the standard 60 centimeter objects, and I know that the V magnitude is 13, and I know the telescope, then all you have to do is go into your LaTeX file, fill out your affiliations, maybe put in the plot for a couple of these objects, and fill in what you want. So how much time do I need to observe this object? Well, in this case, this BL cam, its period is 56 minutes. So I'd really like to observe it for at least 3 or 4 hours, preferably 3 minimum. And I'm going to need flat fields. I'm going to need biases. So you would put that in your application time. Then all you have to do is save it as a PDF, hop over back to their website, go to scheduling, apply for time, and upload the PDF on the web form. So that is how to apply for time. Anyone can do it. And I have to say we are undersubscribed at the moment, but that might change after this particular video. And the LaTeX environment is pretty easy to use. If you are planning on doing a lot of them, I recommend having it locally as well as on Overleaf on an online environment so that you have that good version control. And if you are doing a lot of them, you will run into LaTeX a bibliography control, where you'll want to make a special bibliography file to store articles that pertain to your research. And just as a little FYI, there's a whole tutorial on BibTeX that we're not going to go through today because we don't have time. Um, so there's a lot of help you can get for your LaTeX. If you don't want to write your own bibliography items, you can actually generate them. A very nice one is on typeset.io. It will actually generate the code you need to make your perfect bibliographies. And there's a really fun crossover with everyone interested in machine learning and AI nowadays, a quite old tool. And this was actually built for LaTeX fans and observatory fans who are looking to put their proper equations in and just want to know what the exact code is for any symbol. And this is just really, really fun. So I'm just going to put it up. If I have symbols, I can go ahead and start drawing, and it will try to guess what symbol I've drawn. And so here I've tried to draw a sigma with my mouse. It hasn't worked great, but it's immediately found this code for sigma that will display the perfect sigma in my LaTeX document with no work for me. So it's just a fun one. So LaTeX is your typesetting language. It's the standard, gold standard. And if folks are having trouble with their preparation, they can always email observe@yorku.ca for extra questions and queries about applying for time on either the 60 or the 1 meter telescope. But it is highly recommended for anyone seriously interested in observatories to tackle the system and have a go with using your typesetting language. It can be used in Python codes and locally in Jupyter notebooks. It can be used on the cloud in Colab, and it can be loaded into GitHub for version control. So once you start doing it, you can get into the whole ecosystem. So we've already tried it basically together. And just because I am a little bit concerned, I ran out of time and forgot. um, will I will start wrapping up here and just say that the primary you know uh, areas of research of the observatory now are not only the variable stars of SX Phoenicius, but also my own area of galactic archaeology on the Quail cameras, which are on the 60, which you probably saw on the tour as those cylinders underneath the 60 centimeter telescope. We also do a lot of exoplanets. And we have two crossover talks coming up with RASC Toronto Center, one with exoplanets from the observatory and JWST. And that's February 19th this month. The next month, we actually have galactic archaeology and Quail coming to RASC Toronto Center Speakers Nights, which is, of course, lots and lots of fun machine learning algorithms and wide field imaging with extremely narrow band filters. So there's a lot of actual research projects going on behind the scenes that we didn't get to cover today. Finally, since we are here at RASC Toronto Center and this is going online, I wanted to remind everyone that the observatory is running its amazing Astronomer in Residence program 2025 again. So we're running 2025 now this summer. Applications have just opened over on the Observatory Air website, and this will send a certain number of astronomers out to the Dark Sky Preserve of Killarney Provincial Park for some number of weeks to lead astronomy programming with our 10 and 16-inch telescopes out at Killarney Park. The astronomy resident program has been running for a while now. So this is, I think, number four. This is number four. I'm pretty sure it's number four. But it has been a wonderful program. And we've had a few RASC members, of course, most famously like Nan Carroll. But if you are really interested in outreach and education and have a very strong familiarity with smaller telescopes, this might be just the thing to keep in mind for this summer of 2025. So it is running again, and I think I've given you all the website already. So we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Thanks everyone for having me, and I hope I didn't go too far over time.
All right, we'll try this microphone. Thank you very much, Elena. Question from me: does the Alan I Carswell Observatory keep records of previous observations, so that instead of booking observing time, I can just simply dig through your library?
Yes, actually, we have been working with the CADC on establishing a data pipeline. Right now, we do have an almost searchable web form of previous observing runs. It's going online later this term, but in the future, you will be able to find all Alan I Carswell Observatory data both at CADC publicly and by searching the website. At the moment, you will have to ask to search, and I will help. I will send you the link. But we do have substantial archival data and especially imaging data. So there is a good chance if your object is one of the more popular ones, like a Messier object, we have probably imaged it.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Any questions online?
Uh, there is a comment from Zapfan. Zapfan, he lives in Sweden, the west coast. Uh, he said a 1 meter mirror and an eyepiece. Wow, must be spectacular to look through. And he thought your topic was interesting. Brenda Shaw had a question. Did you get to toss the 60s old control box off the roof?
That would be a hazard. It was extremely heavy. We have actually kept a large amount of the original control system because one, it looks amazing, and two, it's really actually very historical because a lot of it was homegrown over many years. So you will actually see in the museum area of the 1 meter no less than three previous control panels for the 60 centimeter telescope. And we've also kept the original spectrograph, which is about 60, 70 pounds. And that was something that you used to have to carry up the ladder over at the 60 centimeter telescope. So there's some really fun historical things that we've managed to hang on to. But the full encoders for the 60, that it was really just an extremely, extremely long cable connected to Argo Navis. So it wasn't very feasible to throw that off of the roof. It probably would have dented the cement at the bottom if we had done that. So we've kept the Argo Navis, and then the extra super long bundle of cable we've kind of actually just put in a corner and are waiting to find a use for. So yes, it's retired but not forgotten.
Uh, Brenda Shaw replied, that's awesome. Oh, no, first. We were all waiting for the day. She said, that's often awesome though. I love it. Museum and lounge concept.
Yeah, we were really, really glad to get those donations to come in. It's been wonderful to be able to put it together with, it has been made entirely with interested donations that have arrived. And so I would just say a huge thank you to everybody who did participate in the winter donations and who's sent even random things over to the observatory in the last year because we have been running all of these programs for free, actually. So the fact that we're able to keep doing it is largely thanks to the community interest, and it's just been wonderful to be able to put out this amazing research instrument for everyone to have access to.
Okay, thank you very much, Elena. And hopefully, some folks here will be taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity. That concludes our presentations for the evening. We're just going to quickly flip over to fun facts while we get our announcements ready for Scott.